Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome here to St Helens. On behalf of Swansea Rugby Club, we'd like to...
Life has been unfaithful, and it all promises so much.
Saturday, 10th of May 2003. Swansea versus Llanelli at St Helens, Swansea's home ground. It's an end-of-season fixture, and by today's professional standards, there's not too much at stake, except local pride and a rivalry that goes back a long, long way. Swansea are the underdogs, and in the early stages, things are going well for Llanelli. But by half-time, the men in white have fought back.
Half-time score, Swansea Gladiators 17, Llanelli Warriors 5.
All right? Right, boys. Cool heads now, right? Let's not panic and start running everything. But I think we have got them in the backs. Boys, it's 3-1 on tries, that's all. Kolyev's top now, right? Good boy. And Chris Bonar to come on again then. Last one.
Do what we're doing now,
Let's
okay?
keep it up.
Support one another. There's lots of sorting it out, spoiling in the forwards. Keep doing that, okay? Make sure us backs actually line up to defend the. They've got quite a quick back line.
Yeah, we've got to try and...
Hold that centre, guys. Yeah, isn't it?
Well done, Skipper.
What's done wrong?
Well done, Skipper.
Come on, guys.
Jacks against Turks. But before the professional players come out to meet each other, this is another Swansea versus Llanelli match. Swansea Gladiators are taking on the Llanelli Warriors, and the rivalry's just as intense. What does make this game, these teams and these players unique, is that the Gladiators and the Warriors are the only rugby teams in Wales in which disabled and non-disabled players take part on equal terms. About half of each side is made up of players with disabilities. But this is rugby as you'll see it on any park, on any weekend. Victory tastes just as sweet and defeat just as bitter.
Game over! Yay!
Final score, Swansea Gladiators 22, Llanelli Warriors 5.
Captain, Ron, how do you feel about that? You lost today.
Awful.
Why?
Because we lost.
You're very disappointed?
Yeah.
Jubilant, isn't it? Everyone's really pleased that they managed to beat them after about 6 or 7 games. Superb. Really pleased.
What do you put it down to? Why did you turn it around today?
I don't know, possibly playing in St Helens makes a difference. It helps us to raise our game. I also think we've had much better training sessions these last few games, last few weeks.
Gutted, absolutely gutted. Temper's got a bit frayed out there, but struggling in key positions. We had to play new boys who weren't used to it, perhaps. And ourselves got a bit overexcited, didn't play much of it, gutted, absolutely devastated. There we are. They were better on the day, so we'll have to target that for next year and get our own back.
I think all the boys are going to get a little bit drunk. I think they're going to try and go out and celebrate, and I think we're going to celebrate our victory because it's a hard-earned victory against a quality side.
Living it up, to everybody that we living it up, we say.
So, how did all this begin?
My name is Neil Williams and I work at Forest Fark Adult Training Centre for adults with learning disabilities in the Swansea area. And roughly about 12 years ago, myself and a colleague of mine named Ray Cole, mindful of the fact that many of the people we cared for in the day supported teams like Llanelli, Swansea and Neath, dreamed of playing rugby themselves. And we got together over a pint and we thought, why can't these people actually have the right to play and be part of the communities and the national sport of Wales itself? And we started on a very small field adjacent to the centre, a very rough field, on a Friday afternoon, regularly chucking round a rugby ball. And the first problem we had is the difficulty of whether the sport that we envisaged would be contact or not, because bearing in mind that in the caring profession we're always telling people, we're always cooling them down and telling them not to get aggressive, and yet the sport can get quite aggressive. But straight away we decided that it would be contact, that our sport was contact. They didn't want to be patronised by playing anything less, and we started tackling them and asking them to tackle back. And it was quite a difficult experience in the beginning. It was a milieu of people on a wet, muddy day. They didn't even like getting dirty in the beginning, but they soon got the hang of it. The early days we used to swear a lot, because a lot of them used to pass the ball forward, couldn't get the idea of running forward and passing the ball back. So it started months and months of actually slowly going through the very rudimentary principles of rugby union.
Kath Gallagher, now the Disability Sports Cymru Development Officer for Swansea, was one of the helpers in those early days. Now, as then, the disabilities of the players vary in type and severity.
The majority are learning disabilities, particularly Down syndrome. A couple of lads with cerebral palsy. There's always going to be some impairment there in terms of the speed, and Stevie with cerebral palsy, he can only hold the ball with one arm, but he can still take part and run and plays in the scrum.
In their early days, the Gladiators played most of their games against another mixed abilities team from a centre in Bridgend, now sadly defunct. But it wasn't long in the rugby hothouse that is West Wales before word of their feats crossed the Lougher Bridge.
My name's Gary James. I was there right at the start when the Warriors started. I was working in a day centre for people who learn disabilities called the Social Activity Centre in Halegoff and Llanelli. And one of my colleagues working in the special care unit there, Paul Rowley, had told us all about his exploits with the Swansea Gladiators. Obviously, being Turks, we couldn't let the Jacks be the only team in the region giving these opportunities to people with learning disabilities. So he put together a scratch team, basically for people who attended the Social Activity Centre, and some of their friends and some of the staff working alongside them. And we sent letters out to parents just to make sure that they were aware of what we were doing. I had a couple of phone calls and saying, what's going to happen? And I said, well, I'm sure everything will be okay, but deep down I was quite worried really and nervous, because I had no idea what was going to happen. We were quite lucky really. I played for one of the local teams, the Sleeping Giants of rugby, Bury Port second team. I explained what we were trying to do, and they said, yeah, no problem, you can borrow a second team kit. So I went to the laundrette on the day of the game, pinched the first team kit, which is a nice new kit donated by one of the huge sponsors. So we played in that, so you got to look the part, you see. We took the field in Gosainen. We managed to claw a result out at the end, and I think it was a fair result. We ended up, I think it was 25 all. I think everybody was happy at the end of the day.
It wasn't long before both teams, a mixture of players with disabilities, friends, parents and helpers, were taking on sides from local clubs. Stuart Jones is the coach cum general manager of the Gladiators.
It can be quite a variety of teams we play against. The majority we tend to play are veteran sides. They're all ex-players for local teams from as far as Seven Sisters, Cumbran, Cardiff, generally through Swansea. Alternatively, it can be fathers and sons. We've played a female side up in T Croes, which was entertaining. Hard tacklers, I must admit. It can be Swansea students. Anybody who can get 15 together, we're quite happy to play them.
And this isn't touch rugby.
The only adaptation that we've actually introduced is passive scrums, but any veteran side would do the same. Once you reach the age, I think it's 40, where you class as a veteran, because of the safety aspect, they don't allow pushing within the scrum itself, and that suits us because we have some people with Down syndrome who possibly may have a weakness in their neck, spine, so we don't allow any pushing. We do discuss before any game with a new team. You know, I will generally go into the change room, have a word with the opposition, explain the way we play it. We want it as physical as possible, but we do warn them that there are individuals on there. Some people are obvious through their disability, through the way they look. But on the other hand, some people look, well, they are very able, and you've got to be more wary with them. We haven't had a problem over the last 10 years, though. I don't think anybody's got overly aggressive. And the opposition themselves will start slower. But I think once they realise that we will tackle them hard, or certain individuals will certainly do so, they very quickly get into the swing, get more involved, and I think after about 10 minutes they've wised up to the way it's going to go.
But when Jacks play Turks, the treaty gets, if not torn up, then crumpled a bit.
Even though it's mixed ability supported rugby, and we try to bear in mind that some of our players have a learning disability and some have physical disabilities, in the end of the day, you can try to take a little bit of the sting out of contact rugby, but at the end of the day, the rivalry wins through when you've got a fixture between Llanelli and Swansea, or whatever it is. If it was dominoes, it would be a tremendous rivalry. One team wearing a red jersey, one team wearing a white jersey. We used to go at it hammer and tongs. To give you an example, even though I pulled on the white jersey of Swansea because I work in Swansea, I'm from Llanelli myself, and I went home to tell my mum and dad that I'd started a rugby side up, and they were happy that I was playing rugby and great. And when I told them I was playing for a Swansea side, I was straight out of the will.
It's only now I'm realising you're from Llanelli, so I'll never speak to you again. You should be playing for us, mate.
Playing sport, any sport, can be a big help in improving a disabled person's physical skills. Kath Gallagher has seen it happen many times.
The greatest feedback I get is from the parents, because the child, particularly with a learning disability, can't express what it means for them. It's the parents and teachers, if we're working in schools, who are saying how much they've seen someone's confidence grow, how sport has just affected things like balance and coordination and helped in their schoolwork.
But sport can do more. For many young disabled people, feeling part of a wider community can be a problem.
Once they reach 18, they're out of the school system and straight into adulthood with no transitions. They have nothing in between. There is college available. What they tend to do is do very basic courses. And I know of one lad who's done the same course 3 times, just to keep him there. But even then, they're still coming out at 21, perhaps going into daycare or day centres where they're mixing with people in their 50s, which wouldn't happen to anyone else. A 21-year-old wouldn't choose to mix with 50-year-olds.
Stuart Jones believes the social side of the game is just as important as the physical.
I think that's definitely one of the bonuses or the pluses that we have with this side. They've really integrated well with all the opposition that we've come across. Especially, say, the front rows, it's almost like they're a group of them by themselves. You see them enjoying themselves with one another. All the backs tend to talk to backs, I find, quite a lot, and they discuss the way the game went, they discuss how well everyone's got on. It's certainly an eye-opener for the opposition, and the lads themselves will quite merrily have a couple of drinks. Generally there's food laid on, and we always try to stay several hours after the match to really sort of socialise with the opposition.
And he's noticed how that mixing has brought people out of themselves.
Well, I've certainly seen changes with one individual, for instance, Steve Arnold, when he initially came along, very quiet, pretty much held everything within himself. On the field, initially wouldn't get involved, wandered around a bit, but within probably 1 season, 2 seasons, I think he's one of the best tacklers we have, despite the fact he only has use of one arm. He's stood up and he's made speeches in front of 200 people, which he would never have done previously. His confidence has grown and grown over the years.
And for the opposition, meeting the Gladiators or the Warriors can be an enlightening experience.
Most people in society don't come across somebody with a disability or a special need, or you may see them in a minibus as they drive past you in the traffic jams. So to actually meet somebody and realise that you can hold conversations with them, sometimes limited, but you can certainly have a conversation with lots of people. You realise that some people are living independently and their requirements and what they enjoy doing is very much the same as ours.
We paid our weekly shilling for that January trip. A long weekend in London,
the trip. If there's one thing a rugby player does like, it's getting on the road for the annual tour. It's Thursday afternoon in mid-March, and with Wales due to play Scotland in Murrayfield, the Gladiators set off on the long bus ride to Stirling to keep them company, spiritually at least. For long-serving forward Steve Arnold, the Scottish trip holds fond memories.
And we were singing hymns and arias.
I think the best trip I've been on is when we went to Scotland the first time. We had some named Rob Jones who was the driver, and because I suffer with epilepsy, that year that Wales won, and I fell on the floor with excitement, and he thought that I had a fit, and then everybody poured all the drinks over me. Got a bit wet with alcohol, yeah.
Boys will be boys. For Vic Raker, the Gladiators' Scottish second-row forward, this is a trip home, especially as the Gladiators have arranged the game against Watsonians, one of Scotland's premier clubs.
I'm actually playing in my own town and playing not far from the grounds at Murrayfield, so I can't wait. I'm actually playing against a good club. I can't wait for that.
Vic isn't the only Scotsman on the trip. Colin Bryce is another Edinburgh exile now living in Wales.
We're a private care provider. We've got 2 houses up in the Neath Valley, and Michael Coughlin sitting next to you. He's one of our lads that lives in the houses. He showed a keenness to get involved in rugby. We took him down, introduced him to the team on a training night, thoroughly enjoyed himself. He's now played 2 matches for the Gladiators, and well, he's tremendous. He thinks the world of it.
Well done, everyone up!
After a 10-hour drive, Stirling at last. Luckily, not before the pub shut.
Yesterday, weather wasn't very good. It rained, I think, for most of it, so lots of people got wet. A few people had a nice day. They had a look at the castle despite the weather. And lots of people just had a wander around and spent a bit of time in the pub then, having a few beers. Currently on the M9 heading into Edinburgh. I think it's going to take us about another 20 minutes. Then we're going to try and find the ground for Watsonians. We've got a game organised. Looking forward to it. I think everyone's pretty much hyped up to play that.
Dukesy, number 10. Number 2, John Morgan. Number 9,
What we're hoping to do, if it's alright with, I've spoken to the referee, we'll have non-contested passive scrums. Right. So basically if we feed the ball in, we expect to get it and vice versa.
There's 1 or 2 guys in your team who know what they're doing, so it's...
They might look like they're doing, but they don't actually do it.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Are you happy with uncontested scrums? Yes, that's fine, yes. Okay.
2 of the Gladiators' more mature players have their sons playing with them. Tony and Michael Jemin and Mark and Christian Simon. Mark believes the physical contact the boys get is an important part of their development.
I think it's good for them to get a bit of physical contact because it makes them more confident, in what they approach in life.
Michael, how do you feel about playing with your dad in the same side?
Good.
You look after Dad, Tom.
Yeah.
Christian, do you like playing with your dad in the same rugby side?
Yeah.
And what's the thing you like best about rugby?
The movement. Score tries.
I've got older boys, and Michael's my youngest son. I've got 2 boys who were both played rugby and football at various levels. Didn't have the chance to play with them, train but not play. So it's a big thing for me as well. It's given me a new lease of life, to be honest.
Christian got a disability which I would never thought he would play rugby, and it is a great honour to play with him, and to be in the same side together. Unless you've got special needs kids who need help, to play with him rugby and physical contact is great. It's good. Really proud. Really proud.
Keep it nice and simple, right? We're not going to push ourselves because we've had a good tour so far. And
a good baby.
Just give a good account of ourselves, all right?
Unleash hell.
The Watsonian side of veterans and lower team players aren't really sure how to tackle the Gladiators at first and seem a bit surprised to find themselves a try down after a few minutes. Unfortunately for Tony, his game doesn't last too long.
I think I've done something to the back of my leg here. It's tight and I can't walk on it, so I don't know exactly what's happened. But the calf muscle seems to have done something. Just when I done that tackle, I had shirt and I swung round and I know I just felt it go. It's going to be a long old day.
By half-time, Watsonians are 5 points in front, but the Gladiators aren't downhearted.
Max, let's have more of the same second half, alright? Come on now. We haven't let the side down, we're doing some bloody good stuff. Okay?
Well, you don't pass it
second half like that to show what we mean.
Yeah. You carry on in the same vein as we
Spirits are willing, but into the second half, the social demands of touring are beginning to tell, and injuries are mounting.
After a couple of beers, it's taking its toll. I just got lead in the ribs. And it's a hard.
Well done, Victor!
It's really shattered, as you can see.
Excellent try, Victor!
Good game.
Come on, Chris! Come on, Chris!
Despite some spirited resistance and a few more tries, the Gladiators go down to a narrow defeat.
Come on, wait!
Well done. Come on, boys, in tight! Bosh!
It was a bit strange at the start, getting to know how we were playing, but at the end it was a very good game, very enjoyable. A couple of the more experienced players in the team were actually very good, as a couple of our guys found to their cost. But no, it was a very entertaining game, and I hope the opposition enjoyed it as well.
Colin, the Gladiators' Scottish supporter, is sorting things out and bestowing praise in the not too disheartened dressing room.
Right, pants and socks are down there with your shoes, and your trousers and that are hanging up over there. Hey, and James, hell of a run. Excellent run, wasn't it? The best run I've ever seen you do. You had a right speed wobble on.
I played good game, hard mind, and I made a move for the try.
On behalf of the Gladiators, I'd like to thank you for offering to play us, and the hospitality you provided is much appreciated. We'd like to offer a challenge to your best drinker.
Come on, Pete. The honour of the club is upon you.
Nice.
Right, boys. Cheers.
Alright then, on the head, go!
Come on, Pete, come on. Come on, Pete, come on.
Ah well, they may have lost the game, but at least they won the beer race. And even when Wales went on to lose to Scotland later that day, it didn't do too much to quench their spirits. Sunday morning, on a slightly subdued bus, Vic and Steve recalled their best moments.
The best bit was playing at the Watsonians. It was a bonus to score 2 tries against a team like that. I have never done that against a team with that quality. It was good after I know meeting all the boys and shaking hands after it.
My best bit was playing on the actual day of the international game of rugby, and also mixing in with the people that live in Stirling. Found all the people that lived in Stirling friendly.
A tour veteran who couldn't make the Scottish trip this year was Kath Gallagher, the Disability Sports Cymru Development Officer for Swansea. She's no stranger to the perils of a rugby tour. She's been there before.
We had a very, very rough crossing over to Ireland, and it was delayed, so we'd all gone to the pub beforehand, had a few drinks as you do because you're excited, you're going, got onto the boat. Stevie Arnold, who's cerebral palsy, sitting next to me saying, "I don't feel well, Kath," and actually turning green, and threw up all in my open bag, which had my money, tickets, everything in, all covered in lovely seasick vomit. It was
And for those who might question whether the game and its social life are suitable for people with disabilities, she has a short message.
My answer would be, why not? It amazed me to see them have a drink and a laugh and go off and talk to people, chatting up women, just exactly the same as anyone else would. With the Gladiators, it's the only club I've come across where you have the people with disabilities plus people without disabilities all working to the same goal. It's the only club I've come across where it's totally integrated, you're part of the team.
For Stuart Jones, it's simply a matter of respect.
I think anybody who's willing to stick on a pair of boots, you know, pouring down with rain, soggy, really cold Sunday afternoon, and go and play rugby, get involved, get physical, and you've got to respect people for that. I think there is an element of respect with all rugby teams, isn't there?
And Gladiators founder member Neil Williams has found his involvement with the side a truly moving experience.
I worked with adults with learning disabilities for 13 years, and I think it's the most memorable experiences I've ever had was here, because in the end of the day, the watchword for us is promoting independence and social integration and inclusion, and there's no better example for me that I had players here who dreamt of playing the national sport, who played it, people who used to come along and enjoy watching it. The people who didn't play it with disabilities saw their own people they rubbed shoulders with as their own heroes on the local rugby fields, if you like, when they came to watch them play. And at the end of the day, I took great pride in the fact that people who were abandoned in other parts of their life, people could concentrate on their abilities rather than their disabilities for once in their lives, that they were given a chance to prove themselves. And, you know, somebody with Down syndrome could walk into a Morriston, Gosainen or Lacher Rugby Club, and really old their own, could sit down with a pint after a match with people who had played rugby for a long time, and I think earned the respect of those people. And I think that's what social inclusion is all about for me, and rugby was a vehicle to do it.
Next week, Cefneithin take on Llanelli Warriors in their end-of-season game.
Now then, boys, big game today, right? Massive game. We've got to take these Warriors on. We're not going to have a 50-pointer again. Yeah!
We talk to players and parents.
Quite a few of my referrals have come from social services where the concern is the parents' depression because they're isolated socially because of their child.
The New Gladiators, Part 2.